players from the Oskaloosa Herald walking into the floor right now. Katie, you didn't have a chance to work with Colin, quite the young whippersnapper of a broadcaster. And a good evening to you, and thank you for joining us. Wherever you may be, a happy Tuesday to you. It is Little Hawkeye Conference volleyball action live on Pella Dutch Live as the number 4 Oskaloosa Indians, one of the favorites to compete for a state championship this year, heads to the den here at Pella High School to take on the number 11 Dutch. I'm Andrew Schneider alongside Katie Brand, the former head coach of the Pella volleyball team who led the program to 4 consecutive state appearances not too long ago. Katie, good to have your expertise up here tonight. Obviously, you and I have become friends over the years because of our connection through KRLS Radio and through covering those said teams. And obviously, you've stayed close to this program. Your daughter growing up and about to be maybe one of these members of the varsity squad the next couple of years. And I know you kept a lot of track of Oskaloosa. We've got a great potential one here tonight. Longtime rivals in a rivalry, Katie, that really didn't build until the last couple of years when Oskaloosa has found themselves quite the crop of female athletes throughout their school, led, of course, by Faith Durande, who is maybe the best female athlete in the entire state of Iowa. Katie, this promises to be a very exciting matchup on paper. You know these two teams want to beat each other badly because whoever wins this game probably is in the driver's seat for winning that Little Hawkeye Conference regular season championship.
Yeah, it's going to be really exciting to see how these teams match up tonight. They played once already this season. That still feels early as it was one of the first tournaments. I know Oski wasn't 100% that night. So I think tonight there's been probably a lot of talk about the matchup, but I think both teams are just going to come ready to play. It's nice that they know each other a little bit. These girls have played against each other, especially the seniors. For some of them, it's been 4 years. So they know each other well, and it's going to be great to see what they bring tonight.
And not only know each other from competitions, but a lot of these girls cross each other in clubs because of geography. Faith and Jasmine Naminga for the past couple of years have become quite close friends through that relationship that they've built. You know they want to beat each other badly, and they're two very talented athletes, but when you grow up in this kind of proximity, and as a coach you see it, these girls are in the same camps. They're all going to Central. They're all going to a lot of these in the summer competitions, and that's different. That's what makes it, I think, different than some of the Little Hawkeye Conference rivalries. A, the community rivalry, Pella versus Oski, dating back for several years in all the sports, but B, that proximity, kind of similar to a Pella versus Pella Christian. Maybe not as friendly at times as Pella PC has become, but I think that's a huge thing when you think about this kind of game. There's no secrets between these teams.
I would agree. There's a lot of back and forth. It is our closest competition, I mean, besides PC in town. And you just see each other. You see each other at a lot of different competitions. You see each other in town. I mean, I've seen Faith and her mom walking around town in Pella, and you just a regular face around. And I think it's good. I think that's part of why sports are such an awesome opportunity, because you make those connections. And then down the road, who knows? You might end up being teammates on the same college team. That happened a lot with the girls I played against in high school. Then we were teammates and friends, and it's just fun. You have a shared experience, you compete against each other, you push each other to do your very best, and it's neat to see.
And I think that club atmosphere, you see that friendship maybe form even earlier now with the amount of girls that share that experience. So let's talk about this Pella volleyball team. Right now coming in at 13-5 overall, 2-1 in the conference. Obviously kind of a clunker to open the conference season back here against Indianola, but they've righted the ship since then. They've won their last 2 consecutive. Obviously Oskaloosa right now undefeated. All 5 of Pella's losses, Katie, have come against ranked teams, and 4 of them have come in tournaments, which, as you know, can be extremely challenging because it's only to 21 points in 2 sets. So when you think about Pella and the talent level they have, 13-5, doesn't look like a perfect record. That's not going to put them in the top 8, but they've played some great competition at some of these weekend tournaments, as has become a tradition in the program.
And they have, and that record is a great starting record. I know they would love to be 3-0 in conference right now. That first match against Indianola was kind of a rough one to start with as far as figuring some things out, and Indianola brought their top A game that night. I mean, they were really, really hard to stop. A lot of things clicked for them. A lot of errors on our side just kind of broke the momentum time and time again. But I think Pella bounced back really well from that. The Norwalk game was strong. Tournament play's been good. And I agree with you. Tournaments are different, whole different beast than a nightly match where you come in, you're ready for it. You've got 3 out of 5. You know that you're going to be able to come back on a team if you need to. Tournaments are shorter as far as coming from behind and also just the fatigue of all day long. Some teams, that's really hard. And I think this team grew a lot from the first tournament at Bondurant, which is a very long day, and then the Southeast Polk tournament, and then Ballard. They again played some super tough competition with Des Moines Christian and Johnston. So this team, in some ways, is still growing, especially with a change in the rotation a little bit. That takes a while. So it'll be really good to see tonight what they're able to put together, what the tempo is, what the flow, and how well they match up against Oski.
And I think the difficulty with gauging this team is I think the expectations got so high because 5 or 6 of the core players were back. You add an incredibly talented player like Amy Amos to your rotation, but you've been around high school girls and coaching them for a long time. It's not just a matter of putting the ingredient in the pot and then you have the perfect dish, right?
It'd be so nice if it was.
And so when you think about the change at libero that you're referring to with Abby Warner now in that spot, she took over this past weekend at Ballard, and then adding a player like Amy, no matter how talented she is and familiar she is with Bailey and some of these girls, that takes a while. And I think we saw that finally kind of click for the first time against Norwalk, who's a very talented team too. This conference is just about every single night. So when you think about that and when you want to match up in Oskaloosa, you kind of hope everything can come together again tonight. And when Pella does come together, Katie, they are probably one of the top 8 teams in Class 4A.
I agree. I think that they're just getting started, just starting to show the potential of what they have, and they have great leadership. And that can be the difference maker as you get to the critical part postseason. That leadership, I think, is really going to carry them down the road. Let's turn it over to Brian Vandaloon, and we'll be back on the other side of your national anthem. Pella Dutch Live, number 11, Pella, number 4, Oskaloosa.
Tonight's match. Pella High School encourages positive sportsmanship and behavior at all of our activities. Please encourage players and coaches with positive comments and acts and respect the decisions of the officials. What you do and say during the contest reflects on your team, school, and community. Enjoy the game by being a good sport. The Pella Athletic Booster Club would also like to thank Pella Insurance Services. Pella Insurance Services is your hometown insurance provider. Everyone at Pella Insurance wants to wish the Dutch luck tonight and throughout the season. Dutch. Now, meet the reserves for tonight's game. First for Oskaloosa. Allie Vick. Number 2, Madison Gerard. Number 3, Presley Lawrence. Number 5, Ryan Eagleheimer. Number 6, Aubrey Booker. Number 12, Hannah Frank. Number 10, Gracie Durante. Number 14, Hannah Nelson. Now the reserves for the Dutch. Number 1, Meredith Rowe. Number 3, Kylie Hanstra. Number 4, Marissa Hackman. Number 6, Annika Stolzfus. Number Bryn Higginbottom. Number 13, Elena Hartney. And number 17, Katie Pollock. And now the starters for the Union. Number 4, Nancy Greer. Number 8, Abigail Sid. Number 9, Malia Walker. Number 11, Audrey Blanco. Number 13, Faith Durante. Number 14, Olivia Gordon. And on the barrel, Lucy Roach. And now, your stars for the Dutch. Number 2, senior Pella Coleman. Number 5, senior Amy Engel. Number 7, senior Anna Vanderwall. Number 8, senior Bailey Van Dorst. Rivalry with the singing of the national anthem by Pella High School student Sarah Van Dyke.
And we are now set for opening serve on Pella Dutch Live. Andrew Schneider and Katie Brand coming to you from the home of the Dutch, number 4 Oskaloosa, one of the top teams preseason in Class 4A at 16-3. That's borne out. Their 3 losses have only come to ranked teams. Pella at 13-5. All 5 of their losses coming to ranked teams across 3A through 5A. Should be quite the matchup here tonight. These two teams know each other almost like, you know, cousins would. They just see each other all the time across the sports. They'll see each other again, many of these names in basketball, and obviously going into the spring season at track and soccer, and then all the way into softball. And we expect good competitions all year because Oskaloosa is going through quite the run of really talented young ladies who have come through and really built something, I think, athletically. Honestly, when I got here, Katie, Oskaloosa athletics was in a tough spot, but they've really worked hard to build themselves out. I give credit to Coach Parker and all the folks down there who have built these tremendous programs, and they've got a team, Katie, that could win it all in Class 4A this year.
You know, I've coached against Jen Comfort for 8 years, and she, I think, was there 1 year before I was. And so she's been at the help for a long time, and she's really invested a ton of time into these girls and created sort of that passing it on to the next group, and that goes a long way, especially I think with female sports, of just looking up to those older girls and wanting to be like them. And so there's probably a whole group of Oskaloosa girls looking up to them right now.
And a tip and a kill for Bailey Van Voorst, our first point of the night. A kill for Van Voorst, point Pella. And to your point about that's a hard spot to come into when you have a program that's really not had a lot of success before. And that's the incredible thing that's made this rivalry so intense across the various sports, is that Oskaloosa has been really good. They've won some state championships in softball and in basketball.
Yeah, it's really
and
awesome.
A block as Ella Corbin and Meredith Rowe will stuff Durande. Point Pella.
You know, that's a nice message to send early in the match here, that they're hoping they'll go to her and we can take care of that outside attack.
Of course, Faith Durande, no surprise about that she'll get the vast majority of sets. Here's a back set off the block. Pella has it, up 2-0. Left side, Van Voorst into the block, pops it over the net and into the net, and it's a point Oskaloosa. It's no secret they're going to go to Durande. She's got about 60 kills between her and the next player in Class 4A in terms of the leaderboard. She's a 4-year starter. You saw her as a freshman and as a sophomore and coached against her, and she's really come into her own these last 2 seasons.
She has. I mean, she has definitely grown in confidence in her ability to hit a lot of different shots. I mean, she can pretty much put the ball wherever she wants to go from the front row or the back row, which makes her a weapon, I mean, all 6 rotations. So you really have to know where she's at on the floor at all times.
And you know this very well, Van Voorst, 2 early kills. I think Pella has a ton of success if Bailey Van Voorst is on, and that's obviously been one of the tricks of her career. When she's on, she can match Durande blow for blow, and she'll get it a service ace and a big point Pella, 4-1 early here in set 1.
And I think Bailey has really embraced her game. I think she knows a little bit more about herself as an athlete. She knows when she's on. She knows when she needs to make some adjustments. And she also knows that she's got to bounce back when you miss a serve like that, and she will.
Of course, having Amos in the back row has really changed, I think, what Pella has done from last season to this season, giving them a lot more defensive coverage that they frankly lack talent-wise. That's the one area of concern that Coach had coming into the season, and that's borne out. And there's Avi Amos, and that's what's going to make Pella dangerous. If Avi and Bailey can both become consistent 12, 14 kill a night threats, Katie, this team goes from good to great.
And again, they're players that are going to be in the back row too. So it's not just when they're in the front row they can bring that offense, they can bring it from the back row. So they are a great balance on opposite sides of the court. And then you've got a lot of other players that can bring, you know, from other places too. So they've got a lot of weapons. Looks like they're ready to fire up tonight.
And there's a tip for Durande. That time got it past the block of Namiga and Amos, point Pella. First kill of the night. First of many for Durande. There's no doubt she's going to get her opportunities, and now she's at the service line. 5-3 Dutch, first set. Just getting underway here on Pella Dutch Live. And Anna, just a tough set there at the net. No chance there for Meredith to get it over in the first real major error there for Pella offensively, point Oskaloosa.
And this is a time that Pella's going to want to capitalize on points with Faith in the back row. This would be a good time to look to see if we can get on a run, get the ball back on our side here.
Up the middle for Jasmine Namiga, and she'll smash it over and in.
Nice fast attack in the middle. You really want to get your middles involved in the offense early, so that way the other middle blocker has to pay attention to them, has to read where that middle is at all times.
There's no doubt that Durande leads, and it's kind of Walker who's the number 2 option. That's really, I think, their 2 primary options. Pella's probably a bit deeper offensively, and I think we'll see how that plays out here tonight if Pella can kind of get in one of those long rotations and really mix it up on that Oski defense. But there's another missed serve, and that's been a kind of a point where when Pella's been on this year, Katie, they've served the ball well, and that obviously takes pressure off the offense. Unfortunately, we've seen their losses, and early on here, early indication, a couple misses early.
And missed serves are dangerous. They kill your own momentum. They give free points to the other team. So if you give them too many, it really is hard to come back from that. And then it starts to add even more pressure. You have to make the next one. You have to make the next one.
There's Malia Walker getting her first over the net.
Yeah, and aggressive misses early, not too much to be worried about, but you want to try and get in that good serving rhythm.
Pella now tied. They have yet to trail, and I think Pella wanted the argument of a tip, and no official granted them that opportunity. It was close, but it is a hitting error for Namiga as she hits it long, and it's a point Oskaloosa, their first lead of the night. Set 1, 7-6. Van Voorst up the middle for Namiga, off the block and in for Oskaloosa. And teaming up on that one was Thompson and Ebelheiser.
I think there was even a third blocker there. They were all pretty stacked in the middle.
Well, Pella had gone to that well 3 times in a row. Jasmine with the first great kill, second one just missing a defender, and then you don't fool them 3 times in that case.
And
free ball.
With Anna in the front row, there's really only 2 front row options for hitting. So as a blocker, you know it's probably going to be a 50-50 guess of where that ball's going.
Avi tries to set up the long tip, dumped over the net.
Good play out of the net.
And Avi's at least able to get a swing on it. And now Oskaloosa hits it long, and another point Indians, and that was Thompson again. And it's 9-6 and an early timeout here for Coach Peterson. Pella had gotten off on the right foot, Katie. They had a block of Durande early, but a couple of Pella missed hits. They're kind of in the wrong spots on the floor, if you will. They're kind of chasing a lot of these balls here in this last rotation here offensively. I imagine Coach Peterson trying to get some focus going here.
Yeah, and there's also a balance of, you know, it's a 3-point separation right now. It's still early, but you don't want it to separate more. You want to control those errors. I mean, volleyball is a game of errors, but if there's too many hitting errors, too many serving errors, and you feel like you've given them, I mean, they have 9 points, we've probably given them 6.
Yeah.
With errors, so you just want to control that. You want to make sure that you're trying to eliminate those errors, find a way to get the ball in play, at least keep it an opportunity for them to bring it back or not bring it over, and then you get the point.
Do want to quickly congratulate, announced earlier today, the homecoming court, Bailey Van Voorst, Ella Corbin, who you're seeing here tonight on Pella Dutch Live, Kaylee Dix, Caliker, Emily Martin rounding out the girls, Caden Verhoof, Caleb Briggs, Nolan Clayberg, Keegan Hansen, and Akira Lopez for the boys. Fun group. always fun to see these kids. And as I get deeper and deeper in the district, fun to see so many of them grow up into these great leadership roles. 9-6 Oskaloosa. And there's Van Voorst able to at least pop it up and give Pella a chance to get it over the net. Now Oskaloosa, they run a 6-2. They've got 2 primary setters. And then Van Voorst mishits it from the back row, and another freebie for Oskaloosa. And that's what makes, I think, Oskaloosa really unique, is they don't have a ton of hitters, but they've got 2 setters and 2 hitters, and they do an excellent job, Katie, of mixing that up across the floor, back row and front row.
Well, and keeping the ball alive, keeping it in play.
Kill for Van Voorst.
And just having those options is nice.
3 kills for Bailey early, and it brings in Avi Amos. Now, serving has been a point of emphasis for Coach Peterson. She's wanted them to be aggressive. 85%, but they do have 122 aces. 119 aces for Oskaloosa, 90% clip. I mean, that's the ideal situation, and that misses. That's ideal what Oskaloosa has service-wise. They're able to generate a lot of offense from their serve, and they don't miss often. Pella's able to generate a lot of offense, but sometimes it comes at the cost of that, where they're just a little wide of the margins still.
And you typically want to look at the end of the night, what's our aces count versus our errors? Did we earn as many points as we lost on serving? And I would say at this point, we're behind that mark, but if somebody gets on a hot streak, gets a lot of aces through, then we'll get several more points.
So, Bob Fessler is trying to, I think, pass something on here to Faith Durande, and Ryan Parker, the athletic director from Oskaloosa, is shouting across the way here.
And both captains checked in with the official there just to see what was going on, and play continues.
I'm about to say Matt Fouch now coming up to Coach Parker as well. So already spicy on the sidelines here. 11-7 Oskaloosa leading, and there is down the line Bailey Van Voorst, her 4th of the first set.
And that's a nice shot down the line. She's gotten some cross court, some line shots. It's good to see her mixing that up. Nice serve from Abby.
Warner obviously came in at Norwalk, and really that one sails wide for Durande. She really came in and dazzled a couple times in some critical spots in that match, and that earned her some playing time. And you and I talked about it before we went on. I think Abby Warner, she's already obviously a soccer stud. There's no doubt about that. I think she's going to be an excellent addition to the basketball team, but really learning her way here in volleyball, and back-to-back errors for Faith Durande.
Abby's one of those players that brings great energy. I mean, you don't doubt she's going to pursue the ball. She's still young, so she just, has like this fearless go-get-it attitude, which is awesome. Doesn't have a lot of pressure on her shoulders. Obviously, super athletic family.
I was about to say, she's been watching Pella varsity events since she was in diapers, and she had siblings that were old enough to be playing on the court at that point, and obviously Rob and Candace, a big part of what Pella Athletics have been a part. We thank them obviously with the concession stand work they do, and it's fun to see Mia and Abby, and they're 2 very different characters. She misses the serve there. They're 2 very different characters despite how close they are in age.
They are, and I mean, coached them in camp for years growing up, just had that fun spark, that fun fire, and what a great experience to be able to go through this together as sisters.
Oh yeah, this close in age. Especially after we had all of those brothers in a row, Katie.
Yes.
Many of whom might be watching here tonight. I started with Will, was here when I was here, and he was, eventually Drake football stud, and then you go down the line to Lucas and Sam, and then Josh.
I don't know if I can keep track.
I can't go above that or below that at this point. Abby's as young as I know at this point, but I will get to know them over time.
Yep.
And look at this, Pella tied at 12.
Oh, I love it. Go, go.
Oh. And just missing off the block, and that's, again, Warner learning. Good shot there for, again, number 8, Thompson. She's generated some offense there from the right side. Point Oskaloosa.
And I think this, hopefully, is going to just stay back and forth, till somebody pulls away at the end.
Big ace for the Indians. And that is libero number 7, Lydia Van Veldhuizen. Or sorry, no, number 7, Lucy Roach. See, I looked at the wrong side. I'm already off to a bad start.
That's all right. She was on the JV side.
Yeah.
Ooh, 2 in a row.
2 in a row. Back to back. service points for Oskaloosa.
This is a great reception pattern for us. All three can step in and take this ball. See what adjustments they make. Oh, way to step in.
It's hard to adjust when they hit it off the net like that, but Bailey does get a good swing off, and now the offense setting up, waiting for the return from Durande, and she hits it through the block and in, point Oskaloosa. So Faith hasn't quite gotten going just yet, which is, I think, a good sign for Pella, but the wrong side of it is they're still down by 4. A lot of that self-inflicted, but now the Oskaloosa Indians imposing their will on the serve here.
Well, they're taking us out of system, so we're not really getting
and a block.
A full offense. A little easy to read where the ball's going right now.
11 Blanco and number 13 Durande sharing the side of the net there. And just like that, Oskaloosa really starting to pull away. There's a tip, and Pella will get that point back. Meredith Rowe.
Yep, that's a good mix, trying to just find a way to take them off guard a little bit, get them out of system, bring the ball back to our side.
And I don't want to place too much emphasis on what tonight means, especially for Pella, but they have one loss in the conference. Here's Durande right side, and she hits it long again. Again, she's just been a little off. But if Pella wants to win the conference, it's more or less they have to win tonight. And if they want to avoid, I personally think if they want to avoid having to go on the road in a regional final, probably at an Oskaloosa, this might be a win that's going to weigh heavily on that decision. So we'll see. I don't want to put too much on it, but we're at the middle of the season, Katie, and you know that postseason seeding, if you want to get to state, can be absolutely critical. I think in the last season where the girls went when Emily Holterhouse and that crew were seniors, being at home was a huge difference in that regional final against Clear Creek, if I recall correctly.
It is. I think if you can finish, in that top 10 in the rankings, that's favorable for being able to host.
Off the antenna for Amos.
And I do think how this match plays out tonight is important. Obviously, Oskaloosa is ranked 4th, so I mean they have the nod as far as a ranking goes. But Pella needs to compete well, and if they can take the win and put Oski to 1 loss in conference, that feels great. If they keep it close and they are able to really make a match out of it, that's huge too.
At least confidence-wise, even if you have to go to Oskaloosa for that regional final in 6 weeks, then maybe you have that opportunity to know that you can beat them. But obviously right now, Oskaloosa is kind of pulling away here as we approach the end of the set, and they were able to take it to them in a 2-0 tournament sweep, and it's another timeout for Coach Peterson and company.
Well, I think that serving run right in the middle there of those 3 or 4 in a row, I mean, that definitely shifted the feel. Now we play from behind. We feel like we have to maybe change something, make a really tough play where before we were just kind of steady and in control.
Well, our next action for Pella High School Athletics takes us to Friday night, another Football Friday, the 1-3 Dutch, and 1-3 is deceiving when you've played 3 top 10 teams in those losses. But Pella trying to get on the winning way. All that matters now is the district season. They've got 4-0 Newton on the road. Trevor Castle and Randy Sycamore will have the call on 92.1 KRLS. Newton Cardinal Activities Department handling the ticketing. Kickoff at 7:30 for varsity action. Pella at Newton, our next competition varsity-wise. And then we head into homecoming week.
Yes. And I think the whole district setup of football is so different than volleyball play that it's kind of hard to realize the impact of in-district and out-of-district. But it'll be anxious to see what the second half of the season looks like for the football team.
Really good serve again, that time Olivia Gordon. And that time the block ricochets off of 3 different Indians on the other side of the net between Rowe and Corbin, and it's a point Pella.
Oh, that was a big block, and it really, really was needed in that moment. Way to go.
And it'll bring in Katie Pollock to serve, down by 5 here in set number 1. Andrew Schneider and Katie Brand on Pella Dutch Live. All sorts of activities going on as we're entering the heart of fall in Iowa. Good serve from Pollock. Keeps Oskaloosa out of system, but then no one to cover. A half swing from Durande, who gets a freebie, and a point Oskaloosa. Just uncontested there. Pella's defense a little bit out of position and well placed by Faith, but obviously not her biggest swing.
You know, the end of the set is important. I mean, even if you are down by 6 at this point, you have to pursue hard. You have to keep the momentum. You have to keep it close going into set 2, whatever the outcome of set 1 is. So we need to turn around a little bit.
And that
keep pursuing balls, going hard.
That won't help as Durande gets the service point for Oskaloosa off of 3 Dutch and toward their bench far side. Back to Durande again.
Nice pass.
Consideration for Miss Iowa Volleyball this year. Down the line for Meredith Rowe. Point Pella, her second kill.
Yep, chip away at this lead, 1 point at a time.
And I'm sure there's a difference, with psychology. 25-17 looks very different than 25-21 or 20, especially if you make a little rally at the end of a set.
Absolutely. And volleyball, you're never out of it. I mean, the way it's set up, there's always a chance to come back, get those couple of points.
Off the block and in for Oskaloosa, and that was Walker. 23-16 Indians here in set 1. We'll try to have some updates from around the Little Hawkeye Conference. All 8 teams in action here tonight. Pella Christian at home versus Grinnell this evening. Just across the way on the Pella Christian High School YouTube channel. Bailey, big swing, but popped up nicely by Durande, who will get the free ball over. Oski 2 points away from ending the set. Here's Amos off the block, and there's Durande again. And in the net are the Indians. And at this point, you'll take them how you get them.
Absolutely. And again, good attack there, good balanced offense. Block was maybe off balance a little bit. That's why those net calls come in, which is good.
There's Avi Amos to serve.
Nice.
And an ace for Avi. The transfer from PC, making her home here in green and white for her senior campaign.
Oh, it is really fun to see her in that Pella green jersey.
Round 2 here for Avi. And down the line and out. Walker just hit it wide.
And Mia was in the spot to be able to call that. I mean, she was in a good defensive spot. She knew her sideline. She was ready for it.
Brings in Amos again, and she's targeted Walker twice. Now she's moved up, and just 2 in the back here for Oskaloosa. And it doesn't matter as it sails over the head of Durande, point, and now match point or set point, Oskaloosa.
That was a good serving run. That's kind of that momentum you're trying to get back. If we could save a couple here, get up over 20, that'd be nice going into set 2.
Josiah Brandt, always everywhere, all the time this fall. The man behind the Pella Dutch Activities Instagram account, if his secret wasn't out yet. And of course, the maestro of Pella Dutch tennis.
All right, another conversation with the referee for captains. Not sure what they're addressing.
This time, Coach Parker takes a backseat, shrugging his shoulders. I've known Ryan a long time. He's done a great job hosting us, but he is a very intense individual when he gets inside the ropes. I've always known that about him, especially in basketball, and he just wants to defend his program. I understand that, and we're not going to know what's happening down there. Unfortunately, we don't have the live wire to Coach Fessler. And off the block, Pella trying to save it.
Steady.
And they get it over. Free ball here for the Indians. Down the middle for Walker, and she slams it home. And with an exclamation point, set 1 Oskaloosa, 25-19.
Oh, that was close. Abby was in the right spot there. Just a little too much speed on that ball hitting the court.
We will step aside and have set 2 coming up on the Pella Dutch Live YouTube channel coming up after a short timeout. 25-19, and set one started out hot for Pella. They were doing a lot of the things they wanted to do, Katie. And then Oskaloosa and Pella kind of traded some errors. Oskaloosa got a little bit of momentum going. Their service got really hot, and that was Lucy Roach, who had that 4 points in a row that I think really changed the complexion of that set late, and Pella was never able to really recover. And honestly, got to kind of reset and flush it out here for set two.
For sure. I mean, there was a part in that set where you could tell things just got tight. So errors become more likely when you feel like you can't swing freely or things just aren't clicking. And they do. They have to let that go. One of the things I love about volleyball is you start set 2 0-0 again. And with 25 points, you're back in it. And that's unique. It doesn't happen in other sports. I mean, if you're in basketball and you're down by 30, it's really hard to come back. But in volleyball, new set, there's always a chance to just kind of reset and go from there.
Honestly, you could lose the first set 25-7 or 6 and then win the rest. I mean, that's especially, we talk about that, you know, the adaptation of rally scoring late 90s, what changed the game of volleyball to make it to a point where you could do that. Obviously, if not, teams could just sit there and serve you until you had to side out. Now, obviously, it's a back and forth, higher pace game, and a start off there with a block for Pella as Corbin and Van Voorst able to get the point down.
Awesome. That's a great start. Way to go after it. That should give you energy for the next point. They look ready. They're talking at the net. They're looking across. They're ready to go.
And we didn't get to see Anna Vanderwall serve in that first rotation, but now here she is. And that's a nice long attack, and Amos, I think, thought it went off the block, and it probably did, so she tried to chase that one down, and it's a point Oskaloosa.
Yeah, it's hard when you're in the backcourt. I mean, if you hear the touch, if you see it, but you're so worried about getting that ball up. So teammates really have to talk to each other, call that touch out, help each other out in the backcourt.
And there's a serve out for Walker. Malia Walker, 2-1 Dutch here in set two.
Yep, that helps. Take it.
Nice crowd here in a gym that is not nearly as hot as our openers. Obviously a high of 70 today. And there's a double hit, and she knew it right away. Olivia Gordon, one of those two setters for Oskaloosa. And she didn't do a good job of selling it and just keep playing on. She kind of went down and grabbed her hands and made it easy for the official to call, which it was. But and we got two great officials here. But
with Fessler making the call, you know that that one's probably going to be taken.
And that is tipped over for Durande, point Oskaloosa.
And that's one of those new communication things with having Abby as libero. They're still getting used to playing with each other. Who's going to take that ball, knowing who is going to take what angle in the back court. So you can see there's going to be a little miscommunication as they figure it out.
Well, I think when Bailey and Avy are back there, I think it's a kind of a delicate balance. Now Roach, after the great service at the end of set one, hits at center net in set two. But for Avy and Bailey to talk to Abby, who we talk about her fiery personality, but that can be a deterrent sometimes where she gets down on herself probably a little too much. Those two leaders, I'm sure, are doing a lot to communicate to her, to saying, hey, you'll get it eventually. And
I bet Mia knows, too, how to push her buttons or get her back out of it.
Well, let's not push her buttons right now, but yes, I understand what you're saying. Left side for Amos, nice, and she'll slam it home.
That line shot has been great. I hope we can keep that going, attack that setter if the setter's in their position, try to get them out of system.
Of course, these two teams saw each other in a summer scrimmage just before the season started. It doesn't feel like it was that long ago over at Pella Christian. Pollock sails it behind Bob Fessler. Error on the service line for the Dutch, 5-3. As we mentioned, it was at the Southeast Polk Metro Classic where these two teams met in the semifinals. Both teams having a great round in the pool play and then clashing with one another. Again, after a long day, tournament format, off the net. And Oskaloosa an opportunity to take advantage offensively, and they will misset it. Left side, Amos straight into a double block. And on that left side, it was Ebelheiser and Blanco teaming up.
That was a nice push outside. Jasmine was running the back, so you hope to maybe get a one-on-one blocker, but the middle didn't bite with Jasmine. They set two up right on the outside.
And Olivia Gordon, another strong serve. Rowe hits it deep from the back line. Durande to Warner, who's able to pop it up, and then it gets lost in the rafters. And it's a point Oskaloosa. So I think Coach Peterson's saying, good job, Abby. But obviously sometimes the environment is a factor.
You know, our gym seems so tall, but the volleyball just ricochets off, especially when you have a hard hitter like Faith. I mean, it doesn't take much for that ball to just angle right off that platform, get in the way of the curtain or the lights. And some teams are really good about reacting to that, being ready. This is our gym. We should know that ceiling a little bit. Hopefully that doesn't fall through again.
And here's Meredith Rowe to serve. Oskaloosa doing themselves no favors at the line. That one just hammered down by Durande. Left side straight into Van Voorst, point Oskaloosa. But right now the service line is now kind of tricking the Indians and keeping Pella from, right now at least, falling too far behind.
And again, this is that time face in the back row. We need to capitalize. We need to find a way to score some points.
Here's Avey. Back set, back nice. To Amos, and a great job there by Anna Vanderwall, picking her poison, and a great attack there by Avey Amos to get her fourth kill.
I like that set. It's off the net a little bit, so you can hit around blockers. You have a little bit more with angles and things that you can work. It's not a bad idea to do a little of that tonight.
7-6 Dutch, back and forth we go in set two. Oskaloosa winning set 1, 25-19 here on Pella Dutch Live. There's Warner.
Great up.
Up the middle, a tip over and a kill for Jasmine Amiga, her second of the night.
A great spot right between the seam of a couple of players. They weren't sure who was going to go for that. Way to find the floor.
There's a lot of things that Oskaloosa does well. They aren't a huge blocking team by any stretch, just 52 blocks in their 19 matches, and a good serve from Amos. Now they've had some success here tonight. And looking back row for Amos, and she'll force the back row swing from Durande on the other side.
Great up.
And there's the dump attempt for Vanderwall. Oskaloosa, though, well scouted. And that's Warner able to get the dig, and then the free ball over for Van Voorst, and that's outside the antenna. Coach Peterson doesn't like that call.
I don't either. It landed in bounds. I'm not sure how she could have gotten that angle and had it stay in bounds. But they're going to stay with it.
And that is a point Oskaloosa, and I think Coach Peterson trying to explain how did it land in bounds if it went around the antenna, but
the volleyball does crazy things sometimes. You know, I really like that attack by Anna, staying in the offense, making them think, you know, she is going to attack. The ball doesn't lie in volleyball.
Yeah, there you go. That set, and right now it is, I think, a serving issue here for Oskaloosa, because I feel like they've had a lot of momentum from set one, and then Gerard's serve, I mean, that wasn't close. It hits the bottom of the net, so we'll see what Abby Warner can do. I think the team that can fix their serving woes here can stab the second set. And that's 4 hits and an error on Oskaloosa.
I would look for Oski to do something different here, maybe put in a setter dump on their own. Definitely try to find Faith in the back row. They're going to try to get out of this little run. Don't
blink, Pella is on a 3-point run, make it 4, and there's an ace for Abby Warner.
And a timeout.
Coach Comfort will rally her troops on the sideline with this timeout. Do you want to remind folks our homecoming court: Bailey Van Voorst, Ella Corbin, Kaylee Dix, Calla Kerr, Emily McMartin, Caden Verhoof, Kayla Briggs, Nolan Claber, Keegan Hansen, and Akira Lopez. Monday morning at 11, roughly, is when they will crown the king and queen. I'll get to interview them for KNIA KRLS that afternoon. And kind of different how schools, they get to kind of preside over the week. Many schools do it the night before at a pep rally. They often do it at the football game on Friday, but Pella kind of does it in advance. And then often that king and queen, Katie, serves as the master of ceremonies, and they're leading the pep rallies at the different schools. And it's a different role. It's not just royalty at Pella High School. There's something involved to it.
It's not, and they need to be able to be those ambassadors for the high school when they go to the other buildings. And it is always so fun to get to see them just shine, and these little faces look up to them. It's a really, really neat tradition.
There's Warner to Durande, back row. Back in action here, 11-7, tipped over, and Mia did not quite get to it. The blockers recognized it, but not the back row, and it's a point Oskaloosa.
And that's tough, because your blockers don't know if they're supposed to turn around and do something with that ball or leave the backcourt to be able to get it. Each team does it a little differently, and it's just hard when that ball hits the floor and you realize, oh, we could have done something with that one.
11-8, Van Voorst will receive the serve. Back row, Amos, back to Creer. And now a push over, and Warner able to respond, and another back row attack for Amos. This time a little more air underneath it. Oskaloosa able to recognize it. Walker hits it long, and it's another error, and a point Pella, 12-8.
A great ball by Avi. She had to travel to get to that ball, but she still put an aggressive attack on it, which is what we need. We don't want to give them free balls if we can help it. Get that attack, get that swing, make them work for every point.
Here we go on the left side, another tip over.
Good adjustment by the back row. They've seen it once. They made a play to get up to that ball.
Rowe hits it over, off the block, and that time miscommunication. Warner bumps into Amos, and I think Coach Peterson, and you don't fault Abby for the effort, but you got to defer to the senior there.
Well, but most of the time you defer to the libero.
Yeah, right, but that's what's so weird is that
they're still working that out. Who is going to take that ball, and they're not to the point yet where they can do that without the communication.
Yes.
You get there in October, but September volleyball, it's not quite there. Ooh, nice swing.
And there we go, a cross-court attack for Bailey Van Voorst, her first kill of this second set after getting 4 in the first. Point Pella, they have a 4-point lead. You were talking about those, and she's on the court, Bailey is. You talk about those little faces looking up. I'm now to the point in my career where these were the little faces looking up, and I know you've been teaching a little longer than I have and coaching these girls, but it's starting to hit me now since all these girls, minus Avie, when they were in 5th grade, were recording the lunch menus at Jefferson not that long ago.
And that's part of, being in the same district for a while. You get to know these families. You get to know these girls. And you love to see them grow up. You love to see them succeed. It's so much fun to cheer them on.
There's Durande, big kill. She's up to 8 in the match so far.
And then again, with a small town, when they graduate, they come back and they visit. And you see them and you see their families. And I'm not old enough yet to teach children of former students, but
we'll both be there before you know it, right?
I know, it's not that far down the road.
13-11 back-to-back points here for Oskaloosa. Tip gives the Indians a great chance to set it up for Durande, and she'll tip it right back, and no one there to help Vanderwall, who read the tip, wasn't able to pop it up high enough, and 3 in a row now for Oskaloosa as they try to build themselves back here in set number 2. They're up 1-0 overall.
And that's a tough ball because you have your libero taking that second ball, but when she has to cover that much territory, it's just hard to get there.
Well, and Corbin hits it right into the waiting hands of Aubrey Blanco, a solo block and a kill for Blanco, and a point Oskaloosa, and they've tied this up after they were down 13-9. We're now at unlucky 13 for both teams here in set 2. And now Van Voorst right back into the block of Blanco again, and back-to-back blocks and back-to-back kills, solo kills for Blanco in a timeout, Coach Peterson. And again, it must have been the broadcaster's jinxes. You'll learn about if you're up here long enough. We mentioned they're not a great blocking team coming in. Blanco with just 11 blocks statistically, and here on the night she's got 4, 2 of which are solo.
Yeah, and she's just reading our offense well. She's sticking with who we would logically go to in certain situations, so Pella's going to need to spread it out a little bit more. They're going to need to make sure their passing's on point so you have all 3 options and start making that middle move. Run some backslides, run some outside, really make her go and go fast.
Well, the next match in the Little Hawkeye Conference for Pella is on the road. They'll take on Dallas Center Grimes. That'll be on the DCG Activities YouTube. Coming up on Tuesday, Pella at DCG. Obviously a huge rivalry across the sports for many, many years now that DCG's had some big athletic classes. Not sure the scoreboard applies for the student section, but hey, E for effort. And here we go, back into this match, right side for Rowe, and that's a sidewinder, and that is in, and a kill for Meredith Rowe, and she, as always, very demonstrative about how she probably didn't deserve to get that one, but hey, that's luck sometimes.
It is, and the net can be your best friend. You can get rolls off the top of the net, and if you're contacting high enough, that's all you need to trickle it over.
Now, Grandpa Allen said that Meredith was struggling a little bit last night health-wise, so we're hopeful that she's feeling better here tonight. She's shown a few flashes.
Well, and you're in.
And she'll get it right side, a big swing. And in the net, Oskaloosa.
All right, Meredith's on a roll. Keep feeding her, go with it. Do see her making a cough in between plays there.
Yeah, it was
But she's fired up.
We'll refrain from commenting on the absences in the district lately. I think that's true across the state right now.
I think so too. Plus, it's the natural window of those two. You're 5 weeks into the year, things are starting.
And there's
to wear.
Avi Amos, her 4th kill. Without getting into it, obviously it might be a little earlier than we expected, but it is school again without masks, and here we go. Thankfully, we got healthy volleyball players out here tonight, and we'll leave it at that.
Yes, knock on some wood. We'll leave it at that.
Yes, tough, obviously, to navigate that. We got to play a lot of full seasons last year. Very thankful for that, and thankful to be back in action here, and a great return across the way. I believe that was Creer from the back row.
Well, and the volleyball season was probably more normal than some last year.
It was, because we were able to still have crowds.
Sure. So I know the girls were really thankful for that season, and then they just kind of came back this year.
16-15, got a good one brewing here in set number 2. And this is Gordon with the serve for Oskaloosa. Back row, Van Voorst will earn the free ball, if you can call it that, as it just sneaks over the net. Now Avi Amos will slam the hammer down. And Amos with 4 kills in the set. No errors for Avi at the net so far, 17-15 Pella.
Yep, she's come on strong in set 2, which is great. She's hitting some good line shots, which are getting their defense off balance.
So we'll see more creative chance perhaps for her when Pella and Pella Christian play one another in a few short weeks. And there is a serve over the net for Rowe. Point Oskaloosa. 17-16 in set 2. Oskaloosa 25-19 in set 1. The Indians just have 1 drop set in actual conference action that came to Norwalk last week. And Pella able to recover after a great serve from Durande. And then that one just rolls over. And now back row to Warner, who's able to punch it over.
That was a good reach. That was a tough ball from the back row, and she stayed right behind the line.
Left side, Amos. Off speed. There's Warner popping it up perfectly here. Backside for Jasmine Naminga. And back and forth we go. We got a good rally going. There's Warner again. And the dump attempt for Anna Vanderwall, and she'll make it work as Oskaloosa did not communicate. And a big point, Pella, 18-16.
And that was a different spot. Earlier, Anna had tried to attack the hole in the middle of the court, wasn't available, so she went to a different spot.
We've seen, and it's odd this late in the season, Coach, to see the communication breakdowns that we've seen between these teams so far. Now, Pella makes a little more sense. They've changed their libero, but, you know, not to say that was an easy ball to get to. And that was really nice return for Oskaloosa. Nearly an ace for Pella. Van Voorst was slamming home, but that happens from time to time. Back row, blocked by Naminga.
Strong, go.
But then the dump, hey, good read there by Mia Warner. Over the net it goes, back to Pella. Backside, looking for Naminga, off the block, and there's Blanco again. A 3rd solo block of the set for Blanco. Aubrey Blanco, the senior. And that's a huge one.
She's moving well. She's really getting her hands. She's squaring up with that hitter and bringing everything back towards the middle. She's been a presence. We're going to have to make some adjustments, I think.
And it's not just the block. And there's, of course, a big error for Oskaloosa. It's not just the block that's setting it up for the pass. She has been stuffing it at the net here tonight for Oskaloosa. But
and we put a lot of velocity on our swings. So if a blocker is in the right spot, it's going to go straight down. It's going to be very, very hard to dig those up. And we have some hard hitters, so stuff blocks are going to happen against us.
Now here's Warner.
Nice
Great serve, and she gets the ace, the second of the night for Abby Warner, 20-17 Dutch.
All right, Pella's got to stay loose, in control, have a nice lead. Now they need to play like it.
They can get 1 or 2 more down in a row here. That puts them in excellent position to nab set 2 and even us up, but it's not done yet. Oskaloosa has shown great resilience here at many of the Pella rallies. Right side attack. And now left side. Here's Bailey Van Voorst. And in the net, it's Oskaloosa. Another big error and a point Pella. But we're seeing, Katie, the defense for Pella kind of coming to life here in that back row. They're starting to read some of these Indians hitters.
And they're staying low, which is key when you have those big swings, because you need to make sure you pop that ball up so you have another player who can get to it versus kind of a line drive that's really hard to get to on time.
Left side off the block this time. Vanderwall tried to get to it back to Warner, and it's a kill and a point Oskaloosa. 21-18. Big crowd for both here tonight.
All right, sub switch on the other side.
And this will bring in Macy Creer to serve. And Oskaloosa serving over 90% from the back line this year.
Nice swing,
Bailey Van Voorst hits it as hard as I think she's hit it all year. What a big swing from Bailey and a kill. Point Pella.
And you can feel that rhythm, like she's kind of back in, the momentum's coming, feeling confident at the net, talking, ready to go. That's great. Great way to finish out set 2.
And now it's Anna Vanderwall. Vanderwall over to Oskaloosa left side, and a big swing and a return from Malia Walker. And she's up to 6 kills unofficially.
Yeah, Malia and Faith are a nice balance for Oskaloosa. They're opposites. You're going to have one of them in the front row. Going to have just a steady offensive presence. Our blockers need to make sure they know where they're at.
Don't mind the crowd, Mike. Katie will fix it next set. 22-19. Left side for Rowe. High tip.
Nice change up there.
And then swinging it home is Durande, but there's Amos. Left side, the tip from Van Voorst, and she'll get the kill. Third of the set. Point Pella, 23-19.
I'm not sure that one should have worked on paper, but it was a great mix. It definitely got them out of system.
And we get a timeout, Oskaloosa. Now Pella, it's a matter of finishing this one and trying to build that momentum into set 3, especially here at home. It's obvious here, Katie, Oskaloosa has kind of lost their nerve a little bit at the serving line, where they've hit a lot of wild ones into nets and nothing that's been really close consistently from that back line. And Pella defensively has taken a step up here in set number 2, and that's really building into this offense that we've talked about all season long. When everything else is working on this team, the offense is the obvious piece for Pella. They've got so many options on offense.
Yeah, and just that, again, trying to stay in rhythm, realizing that it all starts with passing every single time, really making sure that the ball's in play so you have all those weapons. You have that option. And sometimes it's just defense that spurs your offense into going. I mean, a big dig, a big block, and all of a sudden your hitters feel like they can do anything. And you love that. You love that momentum, and you want to make sure you can capitalize on it.
Want to give the shout out, as always, to the fine crew off to our right, the student crew with Andy and company on Pella Dutch Live. And over the line anyway for Van Voorst. You don't see that called too often. It would have been out anyway. And it's a point Oskaloosa. And here's the window for the Indians, Katie. They got to get 3 in a row here to really put the pressure back on Pella.
And that's a tough one. You don't want to miss that serve after a timeout, but
Lucy Roach.
Nothing lost, nothing gained.
About to say, it was like they were launching the birthday present across the net from one to the other here. And Katie Pollock in set 2, point Pella. Pollock, the defensive specialist. Serves it center court. Left side to Ronde. And what a nifty tip that was as she pushed it down the line of the net. You don't see that one too often, but a player of her talent and expertise was able to force that one into the antenna for Pella. And a unique kill for Durande. She's one of the few players who can do that.
It's a tough angle, especially when you're in the air, to be able to turn, get that nice soft 2-hand touch right where you want it to fall. But Avi won't be fooled again. She'll get the next one if there is a next one.
Backside looking for Rowe. 24-21 Dutch. Back row attack, center of the net, an error, and we are knotted up. So the Indians are off kilter here in set 2. Pella takes advantage, 25-21. Here on Pella Dutch Live. Katie, a quick thought before we take another breather here.
You know, it's great to see that set 2 come back and win, because some of the previous matches we've seen, you know, Pella took the first one early and then had trouble keeping the momentum for set 2. This was the opposite story. They stayed tough at the end of set 1, were able to come in set 2 and really set the tone from point 1, which was great.
We'll step aside and have more from Pella High School. Tied at 1, number 4 Oski, number 11 Dutch. We've got a wild one brewing here at Pella High School. A top 12 showdown in Class 4A. Winner of this game takes control of the Little Hawkeye Conference standings. It's number 11 Pella, number 4 Oskaloosa. Andrew Schneider, Katie Brand here for set 3. And right now the momentum with the Dutch, I think they were the more impressive team in set 2. Oskaloosa looked at in part 1, but the serving was definitely gone for Oskaloosa. Pella was improved enough defensively to take advantage when the balls came across the net as well. And just as we say that, and it's a point off the serve here for Oskaloosa.
And as we get going, I mean, the errors kind of changed between set 1 and set 2. Pella had a lot more errors in set 1. Oski had more in set 2. Both sides would probably like to clean that up a little bit. So it's not a game of errors at this point. They're able to really just battle it out, swing for swing.
Look at that fastball, the heater from Bailey Van Voorst, as she just smashes that one home, and she is up to 8 kills here tonight.
You know, I'd love to see Ella Corbin in the offense mix a little bit. She's been pretty quiet, so it'll be great to see if maybe that's something different Pella can bring in set 3.
Anna Vanderwall, who's been unfortunately quiet thus far at the service line. She is such a weapon when she's on back there. And there's Ella, to your point.
Great swing on that 3.
There's Faith Durande and a deep block, and there's the combo again for Rowe and Corbin.
That was a solid block, super strong, turned in, gonna hit that back line.
This is how you beat Oskaloosa. Now, I'm not saying that Oskaloosa is losing, but Durande has been off balance all night. It's not to say she can't go on a tear here at any point, but Pella has done an excellent job of really, there's a free ace for Anna Vanderwall. She'll take that one every day. But Oskaloosa, you can tell when their leader is not on, they are a different team, and they're a very good team beyond her. We don't want to focus on her, but she does lead the state in kills. And right now tonight, she's got her fair share, but there's been nothing that has scared you about Faith.
Well, when you're a hitter and you get blocked those couple of times, it just makes you think a little differently. She's been dug up
and there's Rowe again. Big swing for Meredith through the block, and it's 4-1 Dutch.
And as a hitter, you start to think differently. Do I have to go to different shots? Do I have to back off? And so I think Faith will get some rhythm here as we go on, but hope we can continue to shut her down.
And right now the serve here for Pella is being deadly, but a good opportunity. And Gordon that time just repeated her last effort, that time a little bit deeper in the hole, and a good answer there for Oskaloosa.
Yeah, that's a nice one-hand throw to the back corner. Super tough ball for your middle to get there or your left back to have to decide to turn and run.
Amos in the back row, back set, and that time a little too much on it for Vanderwall, and it's a point Oskaloosa. Second error on the set there on the evening for Anna. Because that one was just impossible for Bailey to get to. 4-3 Oskaloosa. We did not anticipate, Katie, that any of these sets would go 25, 10, or 12. Let's not kid ourselves here.
No, these two teams are going to match up well. They're going to fight point for point, respond.
And there's Faith Durande.
That's a nice swing to a tough spot.
Tied at 4. One thing I did want to ask you about, when I was covering when you were coaching, we used to switch sides. But last year out of COVID, that we decided to play on the same side. And there's an ace for Oskaloosa. And now we have kept that going, even though the COVID protocols are largely gone. And what do you think about that, knowing that not all gyms are built equally? I know you can request to switch if you need to, but obviously you don't get that different view of the gym, and I'm guessing there's something psychologically sometimes that can happen there.
I think there is. I think, you know, if there's a certain side that your students are on, that's really helpful to not have to have your bench in front of the other student section.
Good rally going here.
I like that aspect of it. I think there are some gyms where there could be an advantage.
We'll see how that plays out. Another kill for Van Voorst. That time the long tip tied at 5. And now obviously here the setup is student section are on the same side, but you know, one thing that you kind of miss with that a little bit, I know you don't want to play into it too much, is having the student section in a girl's ear when they need a big set or serve. And there's another block for Pella. Avi Amos able to stuff the tip attempt there by Faith Durande.
Yeah, I think from just getting used to your side, getting to your play, it's nice. I would say from a filming standpoint too.
Another ace.
It would be really nice. Then you don't have to move the camera side to side.
I mean, I don't think it's an enormous difference. I think at the end of the day, the most talented team can win. But when you're in a match like this and you know you have a fiery crowd, obviously the advantage would flip and you have the Oski student section in your ear too. But if you're a team that's mentally tough and can handle that, that could be a huge advantage.
Well, and if you go to a fifth set, that was always a big discussion point when you had the captain's meeting, is what side you wanted.
Right.
Because there'd be some where it would feel like, oh, this side was lucky because
maybe you won both of yours.
Yeah. So it was part of the game, part of the strategy sometimes, deciding which side you were going to be on.
Well, and depending on, especially if you're in your home gym, if you know that Bailey Van Voorst is really good on one side of the net at practice. I mean, it's something as simple and maybe silly to some people, but when you're dealing with confidence in these teenage girls, every little bit of advantage can count.
Absolutely, every little thing matters.
7-6, Pella, another back and forth brewing. This one played very well between the teams.
Oh, that was a great ball by Anna to get it right to the libero to take that second ball.
A long tip,
Good.
And there's Van Voorst to cover it. Vanderwall sets it up back row for Rowe off the block. Long rally,
out.
And that one's out again for Faith Durande. And by my count, unofficially, 4 hitting errors unforced by the senior.
She's going for that sharp angle, so if you're left back or front or left front, you want to be ready for that. She's had a couple that direction. She's not afraid to hit there. You want to make sure your defense is ready. It's hard to dig on that left back side if you're facing the wrong direction.
Back to Pollock, who was at the service line for the winning point last set. We're tied at 1 overall. And another hitting error here for Oskaloosa. Walker, she's up to 4. And we're seeing a lot of it, Katie, where it's rolling down the arm. A lot of these where they're over-attacking in it. You wonder if that pressure for both teams is mounting. We've seen a lot of those physical errors here tonight.
Well, and again, the super hard hitting is getting digs way up in the air, and then sets are going way up in the air, and then it's hard to time. It's hard to time those balls.
Service point for Pella as Oskaloosa unable to return that one over the net.
And so I think you're seeing some of that the height of the set or the pass is making it difficult to time that swing.
Well, and again, Katie, Pella early advantage here in all 3 sets. And now they're tied at 1, but it does feel like right now, and volleyball is a goofy game, you said, in the sense of where momentum can mean so much so quickly, but it feels like right now Oskaloosa is on their heels in a lot of different ways. They're not able to string anything together because their serving has been so poor since the beginning of set 2, and it feels like Pella, well, you know, they're not the greatest serving team in this conference. There is that ability on some nights to get it going, and it feels like they've got a lot more rhythm behind the line.
Yeah, when you're digging yourself out or your team, it just brings this level of tenseness to the floor. Like the communication breaks down. People swing a little too hard just because they're trying so hard to make a difference. And I think Oski's seeing that a little bit with just being out of sorts, communication breakdown. So I think this point after the timeout is pretty critical. See if they're settled down. Oh.
Pollock aggressive off the net, and an ace for Katie Pollock.
Okay, that's good. That sets the tone. Just keep it going.
11-6, we're on Pella Dutch Live. Thank you everyone who is joining us to watch this video. Of course, we expect a large contingent from Oskaloosa. They do a great job on their video services. They were kind of the forefront of high school streaming in Iowa with MCG and that whole group down there. And I think others like Pella have done a great job of following suit. Obviously, we're not going to make it a secret. You emulate, you get a good radio station, you pair it together with a good video team, and good things can happen. And we're excited to be a part of these streams, both on the official radio nights, as Amos will get the kill through the block and in. And then, of course, tonight, where I'm not in my big red polo. I've got my Pella Dutch apparel polo for the first time.
Fantastic, by the way.
You know, don't say it too loud or the folks at Eagle Lane will hear that, but it's a natural change as to where we're going, and a big attempt there and a dump over for Ebelheiser.
Yeah,
and I still have great love and consideration for many of things over on Eagle Lane, but I think I made that announcement earlier this year from the radio perspective that because I can focus on Pella more, I'm able to do stuff like this, which is fun. I'm really enjoying this video stream. It came out of one of the very positive things that came out of COVID.
Absolutely. Just being able to share the good things that are going on, making it visible for people.
There's a lift, Oskaloosa.
Woo! Jasmine wanted that one. That's one of the best swings she's had tonight.
Well, at that point, everyone was staring after the whistle. Oskaloosa won. I mean, they can't falter. They're playing through there.
But
and I think Bob's going to remind her.
Conversation about it isn't terrible. But there's no ill intent there.
No, but Bob, he's right to remind him, hey,
Yep.
make sure that you're hearing the whistle. And it can be hard in a loud gym, but that was a...
Jasmine even goes over, I didn't hear the whistle. She was in the zone. She was ready to hit that ball.
And that's a cousin conversation there. 13-8 Pella.
Sisters have cousins. This is a fun group.
Oskaloosa really feeling out of sorts here.
Woo!
And there's another one for Bailey.
What a reach. I mean, that ball was a little bit tight on there. She extended all the way up and used that block beautifully.
Well, and Pella is teetering on pulling away here in set number 3. It feels like Oskaloosa is being run out of the gym right now. And I'll say that with a caveat. They are the one team in this conference I am scared of until the final horn airs, because they have so much talent across the board. But Pella is, when they're confident, I think matches Oskaloosa blow for blow. As you can see again, Bailey Van Voorst.
That was on like the 11 or 12-foot line over there on the sideline. That was beautiful.
When Bailey Van Voorst is on, and that's been, again, the story of her career. When she is on, she's very easily one of the best attackers in Class 4A. It's a matter of getting her going, and when she is, it's fun to watch. Avi Amos has been fun to watch at the service line here. A 15-8 run and rally here for the Dutch. Looking for Warner back row that time.
That was a great aggressive swing. Look where you are in the score. Go hard for that ball. Great swing, Mia. And then her sister gave her a little pep talk afterwards.
And that's, you know, when you have this kind of lead, Katie, you can be more aggressive like that, because what happens if that goes through the fingers and that's now 16-8?
Yep.
Now Pella can't squander this. It's important that they play back and forth volleyball, or just keep finding number 8, as Bailey Van Voorst is on a run of runs right now, 6 kills in this set.
And that was out of system, and that's what you want your outside to be able to do. Be consistent enough that you trust when you push that ball out there, they're going to take care of it, and she took care of that with an exclamation point. That was such a tough swing.
And Warner that time center of the net. Now Abby, one of the things I talked to Coach Peterson about is kind of fascinating is about her serving and learning the serving line at tournaments. It's been difficult for her because the courts are so much more compact, at least visually, that it's hard for her to adjust it. She's done a really good job in these matches here using the length of the floor. And there's a freebie kill as Amos pushes the free ball over and Oskaloosa can't return. It was a good swing by Avi, but one that more often than not, if you're Oskaloosa, you want to get back in system. Yeah,
that back row attack, I mean, there's a little more time with a back row attacker. Defense should be able to move and adjust.
And she really didn't hammer that one back either.
And it's hard when your blockers get involved in a back row attack, because sometimes you're not sure what they're trying to take away, what's going to reflect.
Bailey nearly got that one saved over, but that one down the line finally going down. Although I don't think Faith was super confident. I mean, she got the kill. She's happy about that, I'm sure, but was not her best effort, and she's able to get the net to her advantage. 17-11 Dutch. Pella a couple points away from more or less icing set 3. Still early enough that Oskaloosa can get a rally going. Meredith Rowe, crafty, a cross-court serve, or attack, I should say. And a double hit. And that's, when it rains, it pours. So often, when you're not thinking, or you're thinking too much, Katie, it goes from habit to that one finger's off, and you got 2 good of officials here that are going to call those doubles if they see them.
Yeah, when those hands get uneven and you see that rotation of the volleyball, it's just not clean, and you're going to call that probably 9 times out of 10 on that ball.
Pella's happy right now. I mean, they'd rather get attacks here, Katie, but at this point, they want to keep it 1-point, 2-point rallies at maximum for Oskaloosa.
Yep. Little runs you can come back from. You don't want to feel like you're starting to panic at all, letting it get away from you. Okay, she went to the sideline again on that attack. That was good.
And now Pella responding. Warner sets it up for Avi Amos, long tip. And they'll set it back up, but Pella had that one well read. Up the middle for Ella Corbin, off the block, at the net. 50-50 ball.
Staying with it.
And then a back row attack, center of the net for Van Voorst, just a little too out of her reach. And this is the window for Oskaloosa right here.
Yep. So stopping this run, she has 3 front row hitters all ready to go. Needs a solid pass.
It's a good server. Gordon's been very good. Maybe the lone consistent server here tonight for Oskaloosa. And then a double, no, was that Double hit, yes. Okay, thank you. And we'll see how quick Coach Peterson is on the timeout trigger.
She's getting close.
You can tell.
Don't blame her. Wants to stop the momentum. But I also think letting the girls work their way out still feels.
Well, I think we might see it here. Ebenheiser gets the solo block. Maybe not.
Nope.
All right, let them work through it.
I said, they don't seem out of sorts. You just want to go 1 more point, 2 points, see if they can turn this on their own.
There's Van Voorst.
Get there, Anna.
Pella will get the free ball over Oskaloosa.
Right.
Big opportunity. Right side attack, good block to answer.
Watch tip.
Van Voorst in perfect position. Center of the net. Corbin just gets it over. And here's Durande, perfectly placed. And now I will imagine timeout Coach Peterson. 18-16. Again, I don't want to predict too much here, but that one's a hard one to swallow. But hey, she's going to, oh yeah, I figured.
And waits until the ball's back there, the server's getting ready, then make her wait and think about it during this timeout. That last rally was back and forth. It was competitive.
And it was just a few inches off, Katie, from being some of the big swings we saw earlier in the set. And that's the thing about timeouts, and that's why you have to be strategic with it. And that's what makes it so tough, is that you don't want to call it too early, and then, Oskaloosa's feeling good, then they're,
And you know that if this one's going to be tight down the stretch, you need to save and think about not spending them too early as well.
And each team has taken one now here in this third set. We've got a good one here on Pella Dutch Live, as Pella a 2-point advantage. It was as big as 7 here at one point in this third set. Oskaloosa has made their run back, largely behind the service here of Olivia Gordon, who's got it started and has kept Pella from really getting anything clean to Anna Vanderwall.
Yeah, this has been a good run.
That time Anna gets what she wants, and Rowe hits it off the block.
Out of system ball. Good read, Bailey. Way to cover that back line.
And now Amos into the block. And there's Blanco again, this time again with Ebenheiser. And that was a little telegraph there, I think, for Avie. I think Oskaloosa really knew what she was wanting to do with that.
Well, she had to come away inside to get that ball, and so then your blockers can just surround it, a tip back to the sideline, or try to use off that block. But there's not a whole lot you can do. Oh, that was nice.
Oh, great tip there from Meredith Rowe, and Pella needed that to avoid the ties in the psychology side of things is so huge.
Oh, 2 points. That 2-point cushion is huge.
Here's Katie Pollock. Can she build the advantage and get Pella back into a more, if you can call it comfortable spot, but at least whatever relative comfort may be here in a tight top 12 matchup in Iowa high school volleyball. Durande.
Great dig.
At the net for Jasmine Naminga, off the block and in the net.
And that's a ball that you'd really like Jasmine to be able to turn around that blocker a little bit to see some more free court, but she was able to be strong enough that it went off the blocker's hands, able to find the floor.
Here's Pollock. And they time the dump well.
Yeah, that's a tough one. When Katie serves, it has to come all the way over to left back. It's a great time to put that dump in. There's some teams that will do that.
Pella is not out of the woods
over.
yet with Faith Durande at the service line.
Another good pass here. Out of bounds.
That has been the bugaboo here for the Indians. It was for Pella in set 1.
Oh, Peterson enjoyed that one. She knows what that's like. They get that momentum. Okay, let's go, girls. We're ready.
And now here's Meredith Rowe.
All right, capitalize on this. Blockers ready at the net. Tough serve.
And that's over for Pella. And then a 50-50 ball.
Good save, Abby.
Warner showing off that good athleticism, the tip.
It's coming back outside.
And Abby Warner.
Stay on that ball.
And there's Amos, and it's long.
That was close.
Nice work there by Abby to just keep those points alive. And I mean, it's easier said than done. You had Kennedy Klein, who's a college-level libero who made it look a lot easier reaction-wise, but for Abby, if she can tap into that natural athleticism, she can get to those kinds of balls just like Kennedy did.
Oh, libero is all about pursuit. Like you're never giving up on that ball, just like that one to the wall. Great, great hustle.
Nearly an ace.
That's your job. Just go hard.
And that's
go
out.
Hard for that ball.
Just missing. Down the line. Whoa, that's a big break for the Dutch. I'm not saying break in the sense of it wasn't out, but that's an inch away from Oskaloosa stealing momentum back. That's a big swing.
Super close. That game of inches. I mean, 2 more towards the sideline that ball's in, but she swung a little wide. And again, our defense was in the right spot to be able to let it go.
Every point counting here in set number 3. Winner of this one takes advantage into the final 2. Best of 5 here at Pella High School in the Little Hawkeye Conference. One of Iowa's premier athletic leagues, and we're seeing why here tonight. And there's a block again. This time it's Jasmine Naminga who stuffs it down the middle.
And that's huge. I mean, Anna is not a tall blocker. She wishes she was a couple inches taller maybe on that block.
And a timeout Oski.
Jasmine's our tallest blocker, so they're a great pair, and Jasmine's able to cover a little bit of what Anna can't quite reach to, but Anna sets a great block. She gets her middle in the right spot to be able to shut that down.
Pella Christian Volleyball is a set away from their first win, 25-23, 25-22 over Dallas Center Grimes over on Eagle Lane.
Way to go, Eagles.
Boy, we got all these notes here. I do want to check in on what Doug Cutler's rowdy bunch did up at Newton here tonight.
Oh, they're having a fun season. It is
number 4 boys, number 12 girls.
And all those young girl runners.
Here we go. Let's see how the varsity boys did. Ooh, drama here. Pella placing 3rd behind number 1 DCG and number 2 North Polk. Not a bad night for the Dutch.
How'd they finish?
3rd, Chase and Josiah, 7th and 14th. Off the net, 23-19. Let's get back to this great match we've got here. Jasmine hits it long.
Good controlled swing, though. She's way off the net, but she still made that ball go right and left, which is good.
Kill for Walker. So the Pella boys were 3rd tonight. Good for them. And let's check in on the girls. Only on 4G. I'd have the great Pella School Wi-Fi, but I can't get the old Twitter account going. Pella places 2nd.
Whoa, congratulations.
Ahead of DCG.
That's huge for the girls. Oh, great tip.
Oh, they're going to be so good by end of October. Tip wars here.
That's all right. Communicate. Oh, sister there.
23-20. Off the block. There's Jasmine.
That's a good
There's cousin.
Up.
And then another tip over.
Staying inside.
Slide. Good. Doesn't go. And now left side, here's Bailey Van Voorst. And down and deep and in for Bailey Van Voorst. And it's set point Pella.
Those balls on the last 2 feet of the court are so tough to defend.
So Pella, advantage Dutch. They've got a 3-point cushion to play with here. But let's not play too much, Katie.
No.
Save my heartbeats for later in set 4. Because we will get to set 4 regardless. And there's a big block! Ella Corbin finishes set 3 in style.
What a finish to set 2, both defensively, offensively. Really, really strong control at the end of that set.
We head to set 4, advantage Dutch. 2-1, number 11 Pella over number 4 Oskaloosa. We will take a quick breather and get ourselves ready.
When I think about the pursuit of excellence, and I think about one of the sayings that's been said many times, that excellence is not a sometime thing, it's an all the time thing. And I think our school system does a great job of pursuing that in lots of different ways. Not just do well academically, they want to do well extracurricular activities, co-curricular activities. What is excellence? Well, I consider excellence as our best. Your best is hard to quantitate, but at the same time, it's really important that we do try and lay it out there for them what their best can look like. Because our mind's a powerful thing, and our mind tends to limit us. And I think we've done a great job at Pella trying to expand our minds, to push them farther than they think they can go. But I think our programs have done a great job academically, on our fine arts, our athletics, just really working hard to pursue excellence at the same time maintaining and understanding our purpose for being here and going after our goals within that purpose.
Well, Coach Comfort is using the full 3 minutes between sets, taking her Indians girls out into the hallway. I've seen you pull that one before, Coach. Sometimes you just need to get off the floor, get away. Pella has really controlled sets 2 and 3, and honestly, if it wasn't for a little service run by Oskaloosa in set 1, we might be going home right now, but obviously that's not how it works. We've got to see a team finish off here the best of 3, but I think overall, even in set 1, minus that one little run by Oskaloosa, it has been the Dutch mostly in control of this match. Now, the challenge is, can you do it for 25 more points?
And Oskie's going to fight every single step of the way.
They want this one just as bad as Pella does.
And they're experienced. They're upperclassmen, they're juniors, they're seniors. They know how to play under this situation.
They've got girls who won state championships in other sports, in track and obviously in softball. And it's to your point, experience can mean a whole lot. This is a hostile environment, sure, but they got a good crowd here too. This ain't like they're home alone.
Right, and Jen Comfort knows her team. She's been in this situation before. She gave them that pep talk. She knows what they need, pulling them out, recentering. I expect to see them come out with maybe a few different looks and definitely fired up and gonna bring a strong attack, I think.
Right now, it feels like the Pella is just all over the floor. It's like they're glued to the ball right now.
Oh,
and that time Meredith got in the net, point Oskaloosa. But they took 3 or 4 of Faith Durande's best tips right there, and they got to all of them.
They did, and coverage that, and if she's going to tip for the rest of set 4, I think we'll be on it.
I think Pella's okay with Faith Durande not showing off her full swing.
Now, I will say that Oski started somewhere different for set 4 because Faith is already serving, and that's a different spot than they've been the first 3 sets.
And
so
Vorst.
They must have turned things a little bit in their rotation.
There's Bailey again, and she is feeling it. 7 kills in set 3. And that is a point Pella. And that's a lift called on Oskaloosa. Tied at 1.
I think we were reading that. Our middle was ready for that attack either way. So maybe that's going to make the setter think twice about pushing across again.
And that one just a little long for Bailey. She has not been doing well at the service line tonight, but I don't think you'll mind if she gets, you know, where is she at right now, unofficially 14 kills.
Oh yeah, you need her on the floor. And there's times as a player where you're just like, okay, you have to compartmentalize. You have to put that part of your game away in your back pocket or out of your mindset and focus on what is working. And her offense is working.
A tip for Rowe. The block, and not much Pella could do there as it just got over the net, point Oskaloosa. Indians an early lead. In fact, really the first time we've seen them come out super strong early in a set. They had a nice comeback in set 1.
It still feels a little slow, like nothing's super hard. There's a lot of tips, a lot of out-of-system balls. Both sides right now, I feel like, are just figuring out what the tempo is going to be of set 4. That's a big swing. Good.
Forces Oskaloosa to give a freebie to the Dutch. Up the middle for Rowe. Big swing.
That's a different look. Meredith coming around in the middle. Great
and
to
that
have
time,
another option.
That was maybe the best swing of the night for Walker. I'll definitively say it was, as she hasn't hit that hard all night. And that's the trouble here for Pella. Even if you are just kind of dinking around and trying to find out the speed, Oskaloosa can hit the pedal to the metal quickly. And that time there's another answer, and a good one there from Meredith Rowe, who, I joked with Grandpa Allen about it being the Michael Jordan flu stomach bug game, but she's out there coughing. She's got 6 kills and 3 assisted blocks.
You know, sometimes you rally when you're not feeling well. There's that extra adrenaline that
just
kicks
keep her standing on the floor. Todd's got to keep an eye on her. Todd, the lifesaver of Pella High School athletics.
That happened again.
Yep.
When that left back, when Katie serves and then goes over to that left back, they're dumping to the middle. So communication on that, a reminder, hustle in, get to that spot, or have a teammate who's going to help cover that until she's really set in base. But they're intentionally doing that for sure in that rotation. Oh, nice pass.
Back to Bailey, and that one ekes over the net. Point Pella. You'll take it any way you can get it.
Oh, I love that tip from the back row. That was not a thing when I played.
Yeah,
it's definitely a new, I mean, you see it in the college game too. Those back row players come in full speed and then just a lovely touch tip over the block.
And that comes from a lot of that much more year-round style as Rowe will get the benefit of the hoop. Slam dunk of an ace for Meredith Rowe.
All right, it's starting to feel a little more back and forth. Who's going to take these next 3 points? Nice serve.
Good recovery by Oskaloosa to get a good swing over the net. But there's Avi Amos. But again, Oskaloosa responding to Avi. They picked up on her a little bit better.
Oh, nice set by Anna. That was a tough ball.
We've seen a lot of toughness here. That time, almost essentially a free opportunity. Back row for Van Voorst.
And good to use that back row. Anna only has 2 options in the front row, but with Anna in the back, she's firing 3.
And she'll go back to it again. And it forces the libero to chase it, and a double hit, Oskaloosa. I think Pella is okay right now with doing this. They have no issue of just playing the long game here. They've got the momentum. They're at home. They have a little more options in their offense, I think, than Oskaloosa does at the moment.
I would agree. They seem patient.
And look at Jasmine down the line and in.
That was a big swing. She turned her shoulders. She found that sideline. Way to get up high, Jasmine. That was awesome.
And this keeps a good service run for Meredith Rowe. It was 5-2.
Oh, that was
just
so
long.
close.
Coach Peterson's not upset about that because that's
aggressive.
A foot away from an ace.
Super aggressive serve. I mean, easily an Oskaloosa passer could have gone for that ball.
But they've got the match evened up again. Doesn't mean you can't take the pedal off the metal here, but obviously, I think Pella's been almost comfortable.
Oh, good reach.
Jasmine with back-to-back kills offensively.
I think Oskaloosa thought Avi's ball didn't quite clear the net, but she really reached for that ball. Got great extension up high. I think that's her athleticism coming through.
Yeah.
She just knows how to move well.
And I think we've talked about it up here with Lisa before about Avi. That's off the block and in. Nice response for Faith Durande. Avi lost a little bit of that this past spring. She transferred over to Pella, got really sick during the spring season, couldn't finish things off. And, you know, I think conditioning-wise, it took a lot out of her to have to fight illness. And I think she's feeling back to it because natural athlete in terms of on this team, without putting other girls down, she might be the best overall athlete on this team. And that's saying something with her just unique skill set that it's rare to find a player who can do all the things she does on the court.
Well, she's super consistent, and she's a very
Speaking
smart.
of consistency, Bailey.
She's a very, very smart athlete. She's super positive on the court. I mean, she just has a lot of those intangibles that you can't necessarily teach.
Right.
Like, she just knows how to complement the players around her. So it's just been really fun to see.
I mean, Abby Warner might be making the case for best overall athlete at Pella High School, period.
I think that's a debate.
Yeah, that is a debate. There's plenty, but I'm saying that's what has made this team so dangerous is we don't see it all the time.
Yep.
But if Abby can get some of those instincts built a little bit like Avi has, she can be that kind of player in volleyball. And soccer is her number one.
Yep.
She's a very good basketball player,
Yep.
as we'll see this winter. But that's what makes it fun to have those debates, I think, a little bit on this team and watch Avi go all out.
Oh, good recovery
Mia.
there. Off that ceiling again. It's so tricky to read those angles.
And Faith, wow, she missed the big swing.
Oh, that was a miscommunication. Anna read the tip, but then there's that hesitation of who's taking that second ball. Is it going to be Mia and right back? Is it going to be Abby? Is it libero? And those ones you just wish you had back.
Well, and it gives Oskaloosa a little bit of momentum here and really a free opportunity that's squandered there for the Dutch. Back row Amos.
Nice swing.
And then the miscommunication on the other side.
You know, it happens because you love in the volleyball world to know exactly who's going to take every ball, but when it goes out of plan, who's going to step in and who's going to command that ball. There's a lot of hesitation. Volleyball girls are so nice to each other. They don't know who's going to just get after it and take that ball.
Tied at 9. Vanderwall the serve. Left side to Ronde.
Oh,
Got
Avi read it. She was there. It's a hard ball to pick up.
As we mentioned, Faith will still get her swings in. You're not going to keep her to 0 kills. She's the focal point of that team.
I do think the matchup with the different rotation is interesting. Like that last serve receive pattern was not the same as it had been before.
Well, nice recovery there by Warner.
Push.
Nearly a block. Left side.
Great up by Meredith, right into Anna's hands.
And nice coverage by the Pella defense communicating that time. And there's Bailey Van Voorst. Well dug up by Durande to give her team a chance. And
nice.
That's long again for Walker.
And that's an adjustment for Oskaloosa. They did not have that digger on the line previously. So now the trick will be for our offense, okay, what's open now if the line is not available?
Tied at 10. The teeter-totter continuing here. Good serve that time from Van Voorst. And another sailed ball here for Oskaloosa. And this is where the mental side comes in, because I think on a neutral site and a neutral floor, in a neutral game, if you were going to tell me who's going to win 6 times out of 10, it's probably Oskaloosa. But those 4 times, and Bailey's been over the line now twice on her serves, but right now it's Pella that I think is control. Even when it's close like this, Katie, they're the ones controlling it, and they're good enough to beat Oskaloosa 4 times out of 10. Now they got to finish it.
And it's a great crowd here tonight. We've got a huge student section. It was youth night, packing the gym. I thought that was a brilliant move to invite all your young volleyball players here.
There's a good swing from Avey.
So there's a great vibe in the gym. Out.
That's out. And again, Durande has just been an inch off. I mean, and that happens. Again, it's that mental side of things. If let's say in the first set, Katie, she gets 4 big swings in a row, gets through the block.
Yep.
She probably has 30 kills tonight, and it's a completely different game. But because she got blocked early, and because those tips weren't working, her full arsenal has not been on display.
I think it does make a difference. I also think it's set 4. Even though these girls are in incredible shape, there's just fatigue that comes in a match like that. So if your elbow doesn't get all the way high to reach for that snap, the ball's going to sail 3 more inches than you meant for it to.
Good swing from the back row there as she ties up both Amos and Van Voorst.
That was a really good adjustment by her.
But look at her. She's to your point.
Yeah.
And this is hard. It's a hot gym. This is not air conditioned.
It is not air conditioned, but soon.
Soon. Well, vote yes on November 2nd.
Vote yes, please.
If you want the air conditioning. We're not here to influence your political opinion one way or the other.
The air conditioning would be wonderful. Having taught and coached in this gym for a long time, very, very warm.
And that's an error on Oskaloosa. Point Pella as that ball sailed over the half-court line. 13-12.
Right. Let's create a little separation here. Try to get on a run. Our block will be huge right here. Good
return and a dig there by Durande. And another hitting error, Oskaloosa. And when they watch film on this later this week, Katie, they're going to see that they had the openings. They're going to see that they had the sets, but their offense, without seeing the rest of their games, this has to be close to their worst night of the season. And Pella's taking advantage. Give the Dutch credit for how they played defense and covered the ball a lot better.
Yep.
And there's the point, Oskaloosa. But, you know, this is an Indians team that, coming in efficiency-wise, is hitting .251 as a team. That's a great hitting percentage.
That is.
And there's nobody in their rotation on paper, Katie, that's negative. They're all in that 203, you know what I mean? It's
well, I think that's probably the difference, is where other nights they're a little more consistent, not making quite as many errors.
Go ahead.
And tonight it's just a couple inches off, a couple swings here and there.
And that's, I'm going to sound like a broken record, but that's when mentally, if you don't get off to the right foot in a road match in this conference and you have a gym like this, it is hard to get back on bounds. And once you fall off the bike, it's hard to get back on.
And they've been tested in tournament play, which is not the same as a standalone conference match play.
Good tip there from Durande down the line. Back and forth we go here, still 15-14, but I think Pella, again, having the 2-1 advantage is not spooked by it being 15-14. If it was 18-15, maybe the pressure's back on the Dutch.
No, I think they're just staying steady, want to stay close, point by point, and then try to get those little runs.
Left side, Van Voorst hits it long. A rare error for her tonight. Tied at 15. And now this is a crucial point.
That's a tough ball. She had to pass it. She had to get all the way wide to get that transition point. That's asking a lot for her to cover all of those moves. Good hustle by Anna.
Avey back row. And again, contending with the middle of the court, and
Great
Avey is able to dig it over.
Out of bounds.
And a tip out. Right idea, but Gordon, I think, got too excited. For Gordon there, I'd like just to see her go back to Faith. Faith just, smashed it down that last time, or at least give your hitter a chance there. That one, I think, trying to do too much.
Well, and it's hard. You try to make the momentum go to the other side of the court. So everything seemed on her left side. She tried to push the ball back to the right, just missed it a few feet the other direction.
And now that's the issue, is that I don't know how much trust has been built up here. Blanco has been excellent at the block, but I've lost track of the number of hitting errors here tonight that are unforced for Oskaloosa in the sense of uncontested blocks or passes, and that's a really good serve for the Dutch as they'll force the free ball.
Well, and credit Pella, they just keep going at them. I mean, they keep making them make the tough choice of who they're going to set and trying to change
But first you don't succeed. What a recovery for Bailey to get stuff like that, and then to be able to get the swing back up.
Yep.
Point Oskaloosa.
Yeah, our outsides are carrying a lot right now. If we could get a little bit more in system, let our middles be involved, I think it would give the outsides a break. But it all starts with passing.
Well, and sometimes if you're Anna and you think about, well, Bailey's obviously had the hot hand here tonight, it's hard to not set her.
Great to run down. Good choice by Ella.
Well, that might be the best swing of the night for Faith Durande, and they needed it right there, tied at 17.
Yep, she had a single block that was a little further over. Tied it up. That was a big swing.
And again, feels like every point crucial here. Pella has never felt like they're out of control, but it's not a big window they've built themselves here. In fact, there's no window.
Nope. Oh,
but
that was a gift.
Sometimes it's Christmas in September.
And this is when you just kind of look at each other and you say, we've got this. We don't need to panic. We don't need to get tense. We don't need to do anything outside of ourselves. Let's play. Let's just go for it.
Anna Vanderwall up by 1. Durande to dig it.
Pushed. Good read.
And now right side to Rowe, and that time sails it. Point Oskaloosa.
Back to even.
And that's what happens, though, Katie, when you set Bailey 8 or 9 times in a row, other hitters get out of rhythm. And Meredith, as you know, is the ultimate flow and rhythm player.
She is, and I love that she calls for that ball every time. She's ready for it. She makes adjustments.
Tip fest again here.
I love those reactions.
And that time the tip is over. And very quiet night, but boy, there have been some big key spots for Ella Corbin.
And that is Ella. Ella is steady. She's going to come in for that approach that fast every time. Even if she doesn't get set, she's going to make blockers have to think about her every time.
And then she'll dump it over the net. Back-to-back kills for Ella Corbin. And there's just an ounce of breathing room here for the Dutch. They are 5 points away from knocking off number 4, Oskaloosa. It has been a fun night here at the gym, Katie.
I know. I don't want it to go 5, I'm really enjoying watching
sorry,
these
Oskaloosa
play.
fans who are watching. I'm not Jamie Brockman. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm wearing the Pella, the polo here. See that? I'm wearing it for a reason. I'm in the employ of the Pella Community School District tonight. I'm not wearing my normal red, but I think we've been very complimentary and fair to Oskaloosa tonight. And that what a program that they've built for Coach Comfort. And if they lose tonight, if that's the end result, Katie, the season is not over for them.
No, not at all.
Not at all.
I think
it's a learning experience.
Well, you do. And as a coach, you never want to lose. I never wanted to lose. I'm just that competitive. But there are so many things you can learn from a loss that you can't replicate.
Especially at this point in the season, it's not you never want to lose, but when it's halfway through the conference season, you'd rather have it now and have that reality check.
Well, especially if you think there's a chance that you'll play each other again.
Well, when you've got 7 teams in the Little Hawkeye Conference that are in 4A and they're all geographically close, you feel like whoever can get the conference championship in the regular season will be one of those hosts, and then the other 3 teams are probably have a shot to be 2 seeds in all of those brackets in some sort of mix.
Well, and with the tournament, it's very likely you will see one of those Little Hawkeye opponents again.
And now we're tied up.
I'm sure Pella would love the opportunity to do Indianola again, which could happen at the conference tournament.
And I think Oskaloosa they're still in this.
Oh, yeah. More volleyball.
Timeout. Pella? No. I thought Coach Peterson signaled that way, but did not.
Nope. She's talking him up. Nailing this pass right here. Great.
And Avy long.
Ooh. That one was close.
That one hurts. And for the first time in a while, Oskaloosa has a late lead. And here's, I mean, the window's open. If we're talking set 5, and
no, we're not
this is
talking.
here.
We're not talking set 5. We are talking
I'm
set
a realist
4.
sometimes, and now we'll get the timeout,
Okay.
Pella. That's the danger, Katie, of never getting that little rally going, is Oskaloosa's too good of a team to put them in that position. So, Coach Peterson, what's she saying, you think?
I think she's just reinforcing the things that have worked all match long. In the last 3 sets, Pella's been able to find holes. We've been able to have a balanced offense. So just building those things back up. Like, they have all the tools to be able to pull this out. There's no need to panic, no need to play beyond yourself, but keep talking. The last thing you want is the communication to break down at this point. Physically, there might be errors, but you don't want communication errors when it's this close at the end. So they're already out on the court. They're talking to each other. They're talking the game. They look ready.
Lucy Roach to serve. That's awfully close. And here's Amos. This time gets it in. But first you don't succeed, try again, and that time same spot. Avy got a little more of the wrist snap there.
We have 2 people serving.
That would be fun. If that was allowed, that would really, I think, throw teams off.
All right, watch that setter dump coming back across. Pass. Nope, not this time. Good block.
And a block by Jasmine.
Again, yes!
And she'll block it again. And they can't dump it from there.
Tough ball in the middle, but she put it up nice and high.
And Avy down the line, sneaks it in.
Oh, I didn't actually see that ball land. It had to have been so close.
It was right at the 10-foot line, Katie, and it looked like it could have been either side of that gray. But a perfect spot, as per Brian Vandaloon. 22-21. There's DeRonde.
Oh, tough ball. Good swing. I will say Katie was hustling in after each one of those serves to that base.
She knew where she needed to be.
Was making a great adjustment there. Good for her.
Tied at 22. Here's Macy Creer.
Hi. Doesn't feel tied to me. Still feels like we have the momentum.
In system here. Amos, long tip. DeRonde, great hustle to cover that one.
3 ball. Use it. Use it.
And Jasmine calling for it up the middle, and she'll tip it long.
That was a good save. That wasn't right quite where she wanted it.
Blocked. Pella.
Back row.
Uh-oh. Watch the tip.
Good. Oh, what a beautiful up by Abby.
And then off the net.
Still alive. Oh, this one's tight.
And Pella.
Out of bounds.
Out of bounds. Woo. There was a lot of drama. I let you free that one up. That was tense volleyball when you play that much at the net, Katie.
Oh, and Abby's read, but be able to keep it on our side. It's one thing to get that ball and it goes back over, but she got underneath it so we could run a play. And then Anna reading as well was so
well,
so
and here
tough.
we go. Center of the net for DeRonde.
Timeout number 2.
Match point Pella.
And a couple of them.
All right, I didn't see who's serving here. Is it Meredith? There was a conversation with Coach Peterson, so.
Yep, she's just kind of talking to herself. Knows she's got this. She's going to be in a good mental spot. There's a lot of coaching going on in this timeout, and I love to see that. The different coaches are kind of speaking in to the different people about what this last point could look like for them. Love to see that coaching staff work to their strengths and to also know what their team needs in this critical moment.
It sounds obvious, Katie, but the first point here for Pella, get the serve in.
For sure.
You do not want to give Oskaloosa a chance to get 3 points in a row from the service line from your own service line.
It's why they called that timeout. She wants to ice the server.
So here we go, match point Pella.
Did not work. Nice serve, Meredith.
Left side, Oskaloosa. Covered by Warner. Looking left side, Amels.
Nice spot.
Well, popped up here by Oskaloosa.
Oh.
And off the block and in.
That's all right.
So they have their shot here.
It's still one more match point. Starts with a pass.
There's a ball on the floor. Sounds obvious, but you need that to play. And you don't want one laying around. It is still match point Pella, 24-23 in set 4, up 2-1. Oskaloosa serve. It's in the net! And Pella will knock off number 4, Oskaloosa. Your final score, 19-25, 23-21, 25-20, and 25-23. Katie, the Dutch get a huge win at home.
A huge win, and just quality volleyball. They made a huge improvement from sets 1 to 2 with cutting down on the serving errors, the hitting errors. I mean, that just shows, I think, the maturity of this team, that they were able to just step it up when the time came. You saw Anna running the floor as the setter, making sure her hitters knew exactly where to go, and I really, really enjoyed watching Abby in that libero role. I mean, she hustles and got to a lot of balls. Katie came in and did a nice job with her serving. Mia defensively and offensively from the back row every once in a while. I mean, just a full team effort by these girls.
Well, we'll see who we send on up to talk post-match here, but this is the kind of win that can help your season in so many ways. And I don't think Oskaloosa's done. I think Oskaloosa's looking forward to the rubber match potentially in the conference tournament, although right now you're staring at the potential 1 and 2 seeds in the tournament since everybody beat everybody.
Right.
And I think Oskaloosa would still be the 1 seed because they haven't played Indianola yet.
Correct. And
so that would be the answer as to who would be the one if it were to stay tied, which is very much a possibility if there's at least a 2-way tie in the conference. Now, Pella, I think, is happy to have the head-to-head over Oskaloosa. They'd rather have both, but if you had to pick one, you know that the Indians are probably going to run roughshod over a couple teams between now and the end of the season.
Yep, and you can't go backwards. You can only go forward. So taking care of the rest of Little Hawkeye, solid play, all the way moving forward. And then on the tournaments, you know, really working hard to get those quality wins, especially against other 4A competition or teams that might be in our region. Can't wait to see those pairings when they come out. But a win tonight really, I think, will elevate the Dutch a little bit into hopefully that top 10. Mine's just kind of grouping a little bit. I don't know if they'll go up too much more than that, but I think it'll move Oski a little bit. We'll just see.
Well, and for both of these teams, you know what I think they would prefer? That they're both in the top 8, which is a possibility now, and then they do not match up, potentially. And that would be fun to see the rubber match at state. Now, because of the conference tournament, Katie, I don't think we have that huge advantage of waiting and seeing, because there's a 50-50 shot that you would see Oskaloosa that day, and if Pella's the 2 seed or 1 seed and vice versa, that would be the likely championship matchup on paper, barring Indianola or Norwalk, who are certainly capable of getting into the mix doing so. But right now,
those regional pairings will be out before that conference tournament, so it doesn't move things around a whole lot.
In fact, we're about a week or so away from getting to that point, aren't we?
Yeah, I always feel like they came out on a day that you played, because you would get them, and then you'd have a match that night, and then people would all be, speculating based on those pairings and regions. And but yeah, it will be interesting to see. Would love to have both Oski and Pella in that top 8, so that way the Union, who does an excellent job usually of sorting out those top teams, that they wouldn't have to see each other in that region. Yeah,
again, for Pella, I think it was it was more of a must-win for the Dutch. I think of Oskaloosa, they're still 16-4. All 4 of their losses have not only ranked teams, but we're talking top 5 teams in different classes for Oskaloosa's losses until tonight. Pella's had some losses against a very good Des Moines Christian team, but they've had a few against those that are in the lower half of the rankings, which are still great teams, Katie, but there is a little bit of that when you're in the nitty-gritty of who's 7, who's 8, who's 9. Those can matter. And for Pella to get the win head-to-head in a 5-set match, I think helps their cause greatly. I don't think it hurts. Ossie's not dropping out of the top 8. That's not going to happen.
And you look at these scores. I mean, it was a battle. It was close.
It was very close.
Back and forth the whole time, and the scores will reflect that, which is good. You like when you feel like it represents the match well. And I think they have some things they're going to go work on after this match for sure. And they probably need that at this point of the season.
So let's take a quick peek ahead. Obviously, we got Pella at Newton football this Friday. I was trying to double check and make sure there is no tournament this weekend. They're off this weekend, the Pella girls are. So they're at DCG, who has frankly struggled this year. They had a really good senior class. They've got a ton of athletes, Katie, at DCG who are, I think, very good basketball players and track athletes and cross-country girls. It seems like a team that you had some great battles with when you had the great teams that you had, but obviously maybe a very different DCG team than Pella's seen in recent years.
It is surprising to hear that they are down a little bit this year. I mean, still competitive. I'm sure they've got great athletes. Haven't seen them in person, but it does seem a little weird that they're not in the conversation for the top 2, top 3, or even top 4 in the conference right now. That is a little uncharacteristic of their program, but I know they have a ton of great athletes, and it probably won't take too long before they're back in the picture. But I think that just speaks to the Little Hawkeye. I mean, Norwalk has grown so much as a program. Indianola being 4A this year changes the picture big time with how they match up in regions and that sort of thing. And then Oskaloosa having a banner year, it's fun. I think it's great for Little Hawkeye. Would love to see multiple teams in that 8-team state set come November.
Let's take a quick break. I'll have you go down and ask Coach Peterson who she'd like to send up, and we'll pass it on to Andy so he can get the graphic up, and we will have a player interview when we come back after this on Pella Dutch Live. Dutch win 3-1. And welcome back to Pella Dutch Live on the Pella YouTube channel, following Pella's 3-1 win over Oskaloosa, here with senior Bailey Van Voorst. A big night versus the Indians, number 11 versus number 4. You and I talked about this match a week ago. You knew this team was going to be tough. You had seen them in a tournament format already this season. You know half the girls through club and all those experiences. What's it like to be able to win a close battle like this against a team that very well might be one of those teams contending for a state championship, and how much confidence does this give your team going forward?
It's just been really great. This is one of our biggest games of the year, and we really wanted to beat them. And just talking before the game and in the locker room and everything, we just wanted to go out as hard as we could. And us seniors talked before, and we talked about how this is our last chance to beat them. We haven't beat them yet, and so we just wanted to play as strong as we could. And it's just really great because they're a very tough team, and they have very good offense. And I think we did a good job sticking together because after our first loss, and I think we did a good job sticking together and sticking out to the end.
It felt like set one early, you were able to establish what worked the rest of the night. You got a couple of good blocks on Faith. That seemed to kind of knock her off kilter. They were able to come back and had a good run of serves, but it felt like you found a little bit of that formula. And confidence-wise, even though you lost that first set, it felt like you had a lot of it heading into set two. Obviously, you'd rather win all the sets and sweep them, but what was that like, knowing that you found a few things that worked there in that first set, and how were you able to apply that going forward and give yourself some confidence in 3 tough sets to follow?
I would say, like you said, I think it gave us confidence. We knew what worked. We knew what got them rattled, and we knew that if we could stay consistent in those things that worked and pick us out of the things that didn't work, then we could play a strong game altogether.
Well, and you kind of talked to me a little bit before we got on the microphone, and not to embarrass you or throw you under the bus, but you mentioned that there's nerves out there, and it wasn't like either team really ever got far ahead. I think the biggest lead for either team was about 7 points in any given set. What's it like out there when you're in a match against a team of that caliber, knowing that every single point counts? And how do you guys rally, knowing that at any given point they can go off for a 3 or 4 point stretch, and that can be a huge difference when the final margin's 4 or 5 points?
I think for me personally, just letting go the mistake that you had before, because you can't dwell on it because there's nothing you can do about it. So just getting past that and sticking to what you know and sticking to what you know works and is successful against that team will get you out of it.
I felt like you and Avi maybe both had your best offensive nights tonight, and obviously it seemed like setting the outside was a big key for your team. And you've got great middles, and they had some huge blocks in this game, but it felt like offensively a lot of the flow was going your way. How do you handle that on a night where you know you're going to take 30, 40 swings? And how are the ways that you were trying to keep Oskaloosa off balance, knowing that they probably at some point knew the ball was going to go to that left side quite frequently?
My teammates were just telling me what shots were working and what we're figuring out, and since they were working, I just knew that I had to do it for my team. Like, in my head, I was like, this is for my team. How we win is me by scoring points, and so that was just in the back of my head the whole time, and just working to find the holes, because after a while we did find out it was working.
Well, one of the big things, a big change that happened this weekend is Abby Warner comes in as your libero, and it felt like even as this game was going, her reads were improving, and she was finding more of those digs that ultimately turned into points for your team. Obviously, you know at this point in the season, you're probably not going to be the best defensive team in terms of the back row in the state, but if Abby continues to improve with you and Avi back there, how much confidence do you think that can give your team if you're able to turn that, at least get rid of that as a weakness and turn that into an opportunity to create more offense?
I think it would be great for us because, like you said, it will instill confidence in all of us. We'll know that for defense, we'll have someone behind us to pick up the balls that we don't block, and we know for coverage and just tips over the block and everything, we'll know that we have someone there and that we can count on them, especially as time goes on, where we can learn to trust each other more.
Felt like you were feeling it tonight, especially on offense. What's that like when you're getting to a flow like that, where obviously, you know, you and Anna have been together now for 4 years. It felt like the sets were crisp, and you had maybe some of your biggest shots of the season here tonight. What was it like to get in that flow and rhythm?
It was really good, especially last home game. I didn't have the best offensive game, and even this game, my other parts of the game weren't as great as they usually are, but I just knew that this was working for me, and since I was on, I just wanted to take big swings and go at it as best I could. Big
crowd tonight, too. That had to feel good.
Mm-hmm.
What was it like to have that student section fired up? I know homecoming is around the corner, and we'll talk about that in just a second, but what was it like to have that energy? It felt like the biggest crowd you've had all season. You know Oskaloosa was fired up, but I imagine that had to feel good to hear those screams after every kill.
It was really good. Even at the beginning, you could feel the tension in the gym, just because we are like rivals, and we just wanted to beat them so bad. And having all of our fans in the sections and just having all of them here and be loud and knowing that they have our backs and that like they were on our side, they want us to win, was really great.
2 more questions for you. DCG coming up. They're a program that's a little bit down, but one that you know that has great history and tradition. And obviously, you got about a week off now with practice and all the above before you head back into the final home stretch, really, of the conference season and your tournament season. So, what are the things you want to work on and keep improving on, knowing that this is a huge win, but you don't want this to be your biggest win of the season yet?
I think we need to work on serving and serve receive just so that we can control the game more. And then just with our new defense, just like building confidence in each other and just figuring out all the parts to getting them to fit together.
And then you were one of 10 chosen earlier today to be on the homecoming court. I don't want to jinx anything, but obviously I imagine that's quite the honor for you. What did it mean to be recognized by your peers like that? And what do you think it's going to be like to serve the next week and a half, regardless of who's king and queen, with this group of 10 quality individuals?
This group is a really good group, and it's been really fun because like we've grown up together, and just knowing that the whole rest of the school body just counts on us and like wants us to lead them is just really great. And it was really an honor for me just because I'm not involved that many things, but just people like they know me and that they want us to be the leaders and the ambassadors for them for this homecoming week is really, really great.
Should be a very fun week coming up. That's Bailey Van Voorst of the Pella volleyball team, a senior with a big night. Oskaloosa falls here. Bailey, it's fun to talk to you again for the second time in a couple weeks. It was great to have you on the radio last week, and all the best to you the rest of the season. Looking forward to a lot more big wins.
Thank you.
And that will do it for us here on the Pella Dutch Live YouTube channel. Pella wins 3-1 over Oskaloosa, number 11 Dutch, number 4 Oskaloosa. Our next volleyball match is in 2 weeks when the Tigers from Grinnell come here for senior night. For Andy and his student team, for Bailey joining us, Katie Brand, and all the above, we're signing off on the Pella Dutch Live YouTube channel. Have a great night.